Nice. Welcome back to another episode of the chill film discussions, where we discuss films rather chilly or rather lax. There's no rules. We just talk about films, what we like, what we don't like, what we want to improve if we think it could be better. Today we discussed a film called The Wolf of Wall Street. It is a black comedy crime film uh, that is directed by Martin Scorsese, and it sort of is like details the real life events of Jordan Belfort, who was a former stockbroker in New York City, the rise and fall of his antics throughout the film, and it stars some prominent cast: Leonardo DiCaprio as Jordan Belfort, the main character, and Jonah Hill as his accomplice Donnie, and Margot Robbie as Naomi, who is his second wife. And there's other prominent casts. You can go to Wikipedia and see it, but that's all I'm going to be listing for now. uh, yeah, this film is very over the top. It is very exaggerated. It showcases basically all the debauchery that you can imagine of a stereotypical lifestyle of that from Wall Street. Cocaine, drugs, hookers, strippers. There's scenes of them throwing dwarves onto a target board because why not? They have so much money. It's just like materialistic, superficial, like anything you can think of. Like they had it there.
Yeah.
That sort of lifestyle. So like depicting that for like almost 3 hours. The film is 3 hours long, which
Yeah.
is a pretty long time. I definitely felt the after effects of the 3 hours.
hmm
I think that it could have been shorter. I think some scenes could have been shorter. For instance, when there's a couple of drug induced scenes that follows like Jordan, um, that I think dragged out quite a bit. Like the point was that of course they're drugged, and like I think there was some comedic effect to showing like what Jordan was doing while he was high on these drugs. But I
hmm
think some parts were dragged out, and I think it could have been shorter. And it was like that point was kind of already across, and like didn't really need to be as long as it was in the film, at
Yeah.
least in my opinion. Um,
hmm
but I think like other than like that's like something that I had some that I didn't really like about the film. But I think other parts were like um, it was almost like it was very one. There was a lot of it was very like one note. Like a lot of it was like you see all the rise, and you see the antics, and you see the partying and all that. There could have been, I think, a little bit more put into the almost like maybe the other perspective, like the anchors. Like they're almost like they were just brushed aside, which I think is kind of like the point of the movie. Is like it's supposed to showcase this like really over the top lifestyle, but I think it would have been like the movie itself to me comes off as a little bit like more like very one note, and I think that might have been on purpose, but like
I mean,
there
because
could have
it's also
been
a biography, right? Because it's supposed
it
to be
right,
focusing on.
right, but they could have also focused a lot more. There could have been more detail put onto like the actual like fall, because the fall came
Yeah.
like it was coming, but like when the actual fall happened, it was pretty fast.
Yeah.
There could have been a little bit more focus put on that, which I mean, I think at that point it's more of a preference because I think the point of the film, like, I think the intention of the film was to show off this like really one note like party lifestyle, uh, but that's just like a grievance that I have personally.
hmm
Um, Another thing I really liked about this film is the cast, the acting, superb. Leonardo DiCaprio, wonderful. Jonah Hill also wonderful. Margot Robbie, wonderful. They did a very good job. And there's a lot of like fun facts on this film where like they really had to like Jonah Hill like apparently had to be hospitalized because he snorted too much vitamin D. Which by the way, the cocaine that they snort in this film is vitamin D, powdered vitamin D, and he apparently was hospitalized because he snorted too much of it, which is like almost ironic, poetic in a sense. Um, Margot Robbie apparently when she was there was a nude scene that she had with Leonardo DiCaprio's character Jordan Belfort. um, she had to drink like 3 shots of tequila to get herself into the like mood to put herself out, literally put herself out there. Like full body nudity.
Yeah.
So like this film is like there is debauchery like depicted in the film, but there is a lot that had to like there's like a lot of
Set
like
that up. Yeah.
set that up, right? So like it's very interesting. And also another thing about this film that I actually haven't mentioned it was apparently because there's so much stuff in this film that like was this showcase. It had the most number of swear words. Like the F word was thrown like it set a record for the number of F words thrown like 500 plus times. Like averages 2.8 instances F words per minute of the film. Like there's so much of this like I guess debauchery that was that a lot of like it had some difficulty being financed by some like mainstream companies. It actually got financed privately by some other people, like independently,
Oh.
and then those people end up being caught in a scandal for like I think for some sort of like
Oh.
what's it called? There was some scandal regarding the money that they had, like money launderment or something like that.
Yeah.
So like they had to agree to some settlement. Like producers had to agree to some settlement after it was revealed that there's some scandal with the financing of this film. So it's very poetic, like behind the scenes,
Yeah.
in a sense, the lifestyle that was depicted in this film. So anyway, I think for me, I think I enjoyed the the comedy of this film. But whether or not I would actually like recommend it's tough because it is 3 hours long, and I don't know if like I think I would like. I think I give this film like a 6.5. It's like
6.5.
yeah, it's
Whoa.
it's like I don't know if I like. I think when I first watched it, I really enjoyed it a lot. And that was when I was younger, so I was like maybe more.
Yeah.
I don't know, immature, I suppose. But this, I just don't know whether or not I would recommend like because of the length. I think the length of this film really like detracts from it, and I don't know if like
Yeah.
some like you how much you can really get out of this film for 3 hours.
Yeah.
That's why it's like barely on the tip of me recommending it. Which if I recommend it would be like 7 or above. So like, yeah, that's probably where I put
I
this
thought
film
you'd
at.
be higher.
You thought I'd be higher? I thought I'd be higher too.
Yeah.
I thought I was going. I didn't realize this film was going to be 3 hours. I thought it was only going to be like 2
Yeah.
or 2.5 maybe.
Yeah.
Like 2.5 would have been fine. I think if it was 2.5, I would have easily given it a 7 or above.
Yeah.
But 3, it was like way too long.
Yeah.
And also, I felt like there was some scenes I felt like I was losing brain cells watching it. But I mean, that might have been the intention, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's all. That's my recap. Go ahead, Austin. What is your?
Yeah. I think you covered a lot, right? This movie, it's a biographical film about Jordan Belfort, his lifestyle, and I think it really does, show a lot of like how he lived, right? And the focus is all on him, which it's definitely exciting and definitely captivating. But at the same time, a lot of things happen. As you said, a lot of things they draw it out, and you just it goes on and on and on. I feel like, but at the end of the day, right? It's just very interesting to see his lifestyle and how he is able to live it up and then to see his fall. As you said, it's kind of long. A lot of the scenes I think that are long are from the drug-induced highs and whatnot, and I definitely want those to be shortened because again, 3 hours is a really long time to watch this movie just to see this debauchery, right? Pretty much, and you kind of gets tiring at times. You kind of you want something to happen, and it's all about his life and how he kind of lives in a hedonistic way, right? And that's fine and all, but it goes on for a long time.
Yeah.
I think the debauchery is a bit too much. With there's nudity and drug use and whatnot. The only thing that was missing was like gore and violence, but there's a bit of violence, but yeah, not that's not the main portion
Hmm.
of the film or what the theme is about, right?
Yeah.
But I think to turn that down is trying to turn away from who Jordan Belfort is and what he is who he is as a character, right?
Yeah.
Like this is a real life person. He probably did these things and he might have done these things in real life and just they did probably exaggerate, but again, it kind of shows us how crazy this guy was, right? And how his lifestyle is. And it kind of, I think also is there to serve a warning to someone who kind of rises and then falls, right? The chickens come to roost, right?
Hmm.
Things will justice will prevail, and if you live in a hedonistic lifestyle, you have to be careful with all the money you spend because it will attract attention, right? And it will get the authorities, on your tail, and then you might suffer. But again, he doesn't really seem to suffer. But I think in his case, right, in his arc, he kind of loses everything: his family, his money, his firm,
Hmm.
and he comes to have a lifestyle where he's now trying to do a seminar and trying to talk to people who don't understand him. Right? There's this juxtaposition where in the first scene he tells someone to sell him this pen. They,
Oh yeah.
they
Yeah.
immediately pass, right? But when he tried to do it with the seminar, no one really gets it. He goes to person, no one gets it, no one understands him. Or he's in a world where no one kind of is able to connect with him.
Yeah.
Um, so there's that. So it kind of see his fall. I really wanted him to double click into seeing his fall, right? There was the whole scene where he's takes the very old ludes and trying to, get Donnie off the phone. You think that would lead to anywhere, but it really doesn't. What actually, happens to his downfall is when the Swiss banker gets captured, right, in Miami. It's kind of glossed over. It's actually, pretty much detailed in narration, and I would have liked to see more of that.
Hmm.
How that went down, what they revealed, how that led to his arrest, and maybe that's not the point, right? The point was just to see Jordan's perspective and Jordan's side, but I think it's such a big portion of how he fell, and just they kind of like glossed over it.
Yeah.
Um, and I also wanted to see kind of again the comeuppance of the rest of his firm, like how do they feel once someone that they all loved and adored, it kind of like in a cult like manner, kind of betrayed them at the end, right? Kind of turns them in. Like he showed loyalty at first, but then he kind of was betrayed, and I wanted to see how they felt, and I thought that would have been very fulfilling to see. Love the acting
Yeah.
of Leonardo DiCaprio. The whole cast was great, but I think Leonardo DiCaprio kind of takes the cake. Just loved his performance, and never seemed overacted, right? Even though he was kind of exaggerated or some even like, very eccentric, right? He
Hmm.
was all very believable. His performance was captivating, very charismatic, and loved seeing every time he was on scene. And he was very believable. But it's just that sometimes it just went too much in terms of how long the scene was. But again, testament probably to more of the screenwriter and to the character. But again, Leonardo DiCaprio did great, I think,
Hmm.
showcasing in this movie. But overall, the movie I think did a good job of kind of showcasing both Jordan Belfort. Just it went too long, and maybe the scenes were a bit too explicit. Um, so yeah, but I think it was a nice movie, but there's some things I don't know about the themes and whatnot. And we say it's a black comedy, and yeah, I think it's definitely dark humor, right? It's like I think most of the comedy is made for when they are kind of in their drunken states or in states where they are living like in a lifestyle that's so out there, so
Yeah.
extravagant,
Yeah.
right? You don't believe it. It's just like
Yeah.
it's so ridiculous that you're supposed to laugh. Did I find myself laughing? I don't think so, but I just found myself kind of like awed by like this like how they are able to do things and not get any consequences at least until the end.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite characters in this film, while I did like Jordan Belfort, was actually the FBI agent, Denham, right?
Hmm.
Played by Kyle Chandler. Really like his character, and I kind of he kind of like the silent stealth kind of character. You see him like portrayed in the film. I love his interaction on the boat scene when they're doing their interrogation, their meeting, kind of right, their first meeting. Love that scene. Just like because it kind of shows how he's kind of straight and true when you think he might be tempted, but he's not. I would have loved to see more, but again, I think this movie was supposed to be about Jordan, so. That's the few points that I want to make. So overall, I think this movie was enjoyable. There's some things that again, it was too long, as you said, and just there's a lot of debauchery going
Hmm.
on. As a rating, I did enjoy the performance, right, of the movie,
As good. Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
performance of the movies, and I liked that, and I liked how they portray like this character, like his rise and fall. But I just think, as you said, it went on a bit too long. Something's stuck in my eye now. Uh, like it did go too long, and I think just like I would be very careful to recommend it because it just is very some scenes are very explicit, right? There's a lot of like nudity and whatnot.
True.
I'm sure there's like
Yeah.
censored version, and I don't know if I want to recommend that, right? But again, it's 3 hours. Um, but again, did enjoy it. So I'd probably give it a 7, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
Yeah, because
Whoa.
I think yeah
Okay.
I like the performance, right. I like the way that it portrayed his rise and fall, right. I
Yeah.
like the story, right. And I thought
Yeah.
it was a good story to see, but just yeah it just went on too long, and just sometimes some scenes were just too explicit. But I think if they shortened it down, if they were to double click in some of the his fall or the other characters, I think it would really make this movie a little bit more well rounded. A lot of the complex themes, a lot of the more interesting things happen towards the end, I
Hmm.
think. Instead of the beginning. The beginning was, just a more like eye catching, right? Like all this lifestyle, you see nudity, you see, all this power, you see this extravagance, right? That's captivating. It's all inspiring. But then, kind of falls down. It gets more complex and interesting, complicated later in the end. So it's kind of mixed up. But I did enjoy that. At least the ending kind of made the movie for me. If it was just the beginning, right, and they didn't have it, ended to like kind of like complex with all these things that Jordan Belfort tried to do, I
Hmm.
probably would have given a lower rating, I think. But I think the ending kind of helped save it. But it does go on for a bit long.
Yeah. So, would you recommend?
Yes, I would say it's a good movie, but I would give a caveat that yes, it's probably kind of explicit, and you should be careful with watching it, like depending on who you want to be with, right? Like if it's
Yeah.
like with probably not for like a younger audience, right? But I definitely think it's a good movie for people to watch. But it is long, and I think it can be an enjoyable experience to see
Yeah.
this performance. So I would
I
recommend it, but give it a caveat of like who you watch it with.
yeah. I think if you're looking for something specific, I think this would be a good
Hmm.
movie. Other than that, I would recommend it like generally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so. Just because I don't know. It's just a lot. 3 hours of a lot of like more or less the same thing. Maybe like 2 hours of like the same thing, and then the actual like
Yeah.
or 2.5 or 2 and 15 minutes of like the same thing, and then the last like 45 or so minutes are like different. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think it was like that like I said, the performances were very good. I think there's certain scenes that were really well delivered, well shot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
I it just came off as very uh, one note for me for
Yeah.
like 3 hours.
It did
I mean,
sometimes. It did. Yeah.
I think that was intended, but like it could have definitely been shorter. I think because it was like so long, it just felt like it dragged on. So
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
really suffered, I think, for this film for me.
Mhm.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm glad that we got our concluding remarks and we more or less agree on our rating. I think Austin thought I was
Mhm.
going to rate it much higher. What do you think I was going to rate it?
I thought you were gonna do like a 8
Eights? Yeah. Okay.
or yeah,
I thought
around an
you know
8.
I'm going into this film. I thought I was going to like give it like a 7 or an 8 at least. Um,
Yeah.
but then like I think 2 hours in, and I was still I like paused it. I was like, how much more of this movie is there? Because I feel like
It
I
is
watched it.
pretty
I feel
long.
like I
Yeah.
was like watching it for such a long time, and I'm like how much has actually happened? Like there's still more. Um, and whenever I have to like pause a movie and like look at how much time is left, that's already like not a good sign. So I was like,
It
wow.
did go on for a while. Yeah.
So hey, I mean, good. They're definitely good parts. So
Hmm. Yeah.
have at it if you want
Yep.
to watch something like this, and you have the time. Uh,
Yeah.
cool. Well, that concludes this chill film discussion. I hope whenever you watch it, if you watch this, you have a great day, and we will see you next time on Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time. Peace. Have a good one, everyone.